In a world where headlines come and go in seconds, some stories stay buried beneath the noise. This is one of those stories. A story of blood, faith, and silence. A story that former U.S. President Donald Trump has now dragged back into the global spotlight, calling it what he describes as a Christian genocide in Nigeria. But what's really happening inside Africa's most populous nation? Are Christians truly being hunted down because of their faith? Or is there something far more complex? A web of crime, politics, and forgotten victims? Tonight, we uncover the hidden killings in Nigeria, and why Trump says the world can no longer ignore them. It started with a statement that shook the room. Trump's voice thundered, accusing Nigerian authorities of turning a blind eye to the slaughter of Christians. He claimed thousands had been murdered, their churches burned, their villages destroyed. For some, it was just another political outburst. But for families in central and northern Nigeria, those words hit close to home. Because behind the headlines are real people. Mothers, fathers, and children whose lives have been torn apart by unrelenting waves of violence. Nigeria, a country of over 200 million people, is split almost evenly between Christians in the south and Muslims in the north. For decades, the two faiths lived side by side. But as climate change, politics, and corruption deepened, peace began to crumble. The Middle Belt, stretching across Plateau, Benue, and Kaduna states, became a battleground. Here, fertile farmlands turned into killing fields. Villages once filled with laughter now echo with gunfire. Most of these attacks are blamed on Fulani herdsmen, armed groups linked to centuries-old tensions between nomadic herders and local farmers. The farmers, mostly Christians, accuse the herders, mostly Muslims, of invading their land. But what began as disputes over cattle and crops has transformed into something darker. A pattern of targeted killings that many describe as religious cleansing. It's midnight in a small village in Plateau State. The night air is still, too still. Then gunshots shatter the silence. Armed men on motorcycles sweep through the community, setting homes ablaze and shooting anyone who tries to run. By morning, dozens are dead. The survivors bury their loved ones under burnt church crosses. In interviews, witnesses whisper, "They came for us because we are Christians." No one arrives to help. No police, no army. Just the silence of another forgotten massacre. For over a decade, Nigeria has faced terror from Boko Haram, the Islamist extremist group responsible for thousands of murders and abductions, including the infamous kidnapping of schoolgirls from Chibok in 2014. But while Boko Haram's brutality dominates global headlines, a quieter war has been spreading through rural Nigeria. According to several independent reports, attacks by armed herdsmen have killed more civilians in recent years than Boko Haram itself. Villages vanish overnight. Churches are torched. Bodies left on the roadsides, unnamed and uncounted. Local pastors record each death in notebooks, desperate attempts to preserve memory where justice fails. Some estimates suggest that more than 50,000 Christians have been killed in the last 2 decades. Yet the government's response remains weak, often blaming bandits, instead of addressing deeper religious motives. A woman named Ruth holds a faded photograph of her husband, a church elder killed in an early morning raid. "He told me to run with the children," she says quietly. "I turned around and saw them shoot him in front of the church door." In Benue State, a young boy digs through the ashes of what used to be his family's home. He finds a half-burnt Bible. He doesn't speak, but his silence tells the story of thousands. These are the voices that rarely reach the international stage. But Trump's recent statement, harsh, emotional, and controversial, forced the issue back into the headlines. Whether you agree with him or not, it made people ask, is there a Christian genocide in Nigeria? Every tragedy in Nigeria is tangled in politics. Critics argue that Trump's comment was exaggerated, a way to win favor with conservative Christian audiences in America. But survivors and local priests insist the killings are real and they are ongoing. Human rights groups like Amnesty International and Open Doors have documented hundreds of attacks targeting Christian communities. Government officials deny religious motives, labeling the violence as banditry or farmer-herder clashes. Yet, the patterns tell another story: systematic assaults on Christian villages, often during Sunday services or after church gatherings. Women abducted, children orphaned, entire congregations wiped out in one night. Internationally, the response has been minimal. Global media outlets occasionally report massacres, but attention fades quickly. Unlike Ukraine or Gaza, Nigeria's suffering doesn't trend for long. Trump's statement may have reignited awareness, but it also sparked fierce debate. Some accused him of spreading religious propaganda. Others thanked him for saying what world leaders refused to acknowledge. What no one disputes is the death toll. Behind the arguments and press releases are endless graves. Scene 8. The Hidden Forces. Who funds these killers? Where do the weapons come from? Those are the questions Nigeria has failed to answer. Some analysts point to criminal networks profiting from chaos, arms dealers, corrupt politicians, and warlords who thrive on division. Others link the violence to extremist ideologies spreading across Africa's Sahel region, with militants moving freely between Nigeria, Chad, and Niger. Whatever the truth, one fact remains: innocent civilians are paying the price. And justice, if it comes at all, arrives too late. From burned churches to refugee camps, the message is the same. People feel abandoned. Abandoned by their government. Abandoned by the world. A priest in southern Kaduna says, "When they kill us, the world says nothing. When we defend ourselves, they call it revenge." Survivors plead for help. Not sympathy but action. They want protection, accountability, and truth. But corruption and political fear silence most investigations. Trump's outburst may not bring justice, but it gave victims something they haven't had in years: a voice loud enough to be heard beyond Nigeria's borders. For Christians in Nigeria, every day begins with prayer, and the fear of what the next night might bring. In towns like Jos, Zangan-Kataf, and Makurdi, believers gather under guarded churches, watching the horizon for headlights. They still sing. They still worship. But their faith now carries the weight of survival. A pastor once said, "Our crime is that we believe in Jesus, but we will not stop believing." Those words echo across the ruins of countless sanctuaries, where blood has become a testimony. The United Nations calls for peace but rarely names perpetrators. The Nigerian government promises inquiries but delivers few arrests. Western nations issue statements, then move on to the next crisis. For the victims, justice has become a dream that fades with every sunrise. And as the violence continues, the question remains: how many more must die before the world admits what's happening? Whether you believe Trump's words or not, the facts are undeniable. Entire Christian communities have been wiped out. Thousands have died. Millions displaced. This isn't just politics. It's a humanitarian tragedy. A true crime that continues in the shadows. The victims have no voice. The killers no names. And the silence, louder than any speech. The hidden killings in Nigeria are not hidden anymore. The question now is, will the world listen?